So you've decided to make the big move to Austin, Texas, but naturally you're just not sure where exactly you'd like to place your roots. And I don't blame you. The city of Austin itself is relatively small, but the greater Austin area is deceivingly large. So to be of help in this video, we are going to go over the new rankings of the top 10 suburbs to live in Austin, Texas, seeing what the prices are, what they're close to, so on and so forth, so that by the end of this video, hopefully you can arrive at your own conclusion. If that is the reason you clicked on this video, stay tuned because we're getting after it right now. Hello again everybody. If this is your first time at the channel, my name is Frank and I'm part of a team at the award-winning J.B. Goodwin Brokerage right here in the exhilarating Austin, Texas. Each and every week we put out tons of new content all in regards to living in Austin, Texas, whether it be the pros and cons, the cost of living, vlog tours of areas and suburbs, comparisons of cities and states, and rankings such as this one. So if you haven't already, consider subscribing to this channel and ringing that little bell so that you're notified each and every time we put out a new video. In addition, we get reach outs all the time from people just like you who are in need of our help when relocating to this great city of Austin, Texas. We love finding that perfect place that fits your lifestyle and making your move as smooth as possible. But the only way we can do that is by you reaching out to us, so do not hesitate. Whether you are 9 days away or 90, go ahead and shoot us a text, send us an email, give us a call any day of the week, any time of day. So a quick little overview. The list of 10 suburbs to live in is not my list. This is public information pulled from niche.com. They recently put out their 2021 top 10 suburbs to live, and the list goes on to 20 and 30, but I thought for the sake of this video, we would just keep it at 10. I've got my trusty list here, and we're really just gonna run through them one by one and go over some of the general grades that they got for the schools, for the safety, for the families, for diversity. I'm gonna mention the population, how they lean politically, what they're close to, and what you can expect in terms of pricing. Making a move, especially from out of state, is such a significant moment that can be quite overwhelming and stressful. So again, the point of this video is to shed some light, to illuminate, and to inform you on what you can expect. And lastly, to those of you who do already live in the greater Austin area who are watching this video, go ahead and comment down below and let people know what you make of where you live, because this really is just a website. They're very objective with the scores. So I'm thinking, why not tell the world how you really feel about where you live and give them an honest assessment, what you like, what you dislike. Go ahead and drop them all down below. So coming in at number 10, we've got Round Rock, Texas. They got an overall grade of an A. Their schools as well got an A. They got an A for families, and the population in Round Rock is right around 124,000 people. Your diversity is also going to score an A, and politically speaking, Round Rock overall is pretty moderate. For pricing in Round Rock, you can expect anything from $400,000 to $450,000 on average. And Round Rock, Texas, for those of you who don't know, is going to be quite north of downtown, a little bit northeast to be more specific. It was one of the original city-town suburbs that really started blossoming near its proximity to I-35. And if you don't know it already, I-35 is one of the main arteries of travel, not just for the state of Texas, but for much of the country. I am aware it can upset some viewers for me to just call it a suburb, because the truth of the matter is Round Rock has its own zip code, Round Rock has its own town council, but in the spirit of transparency, Round Rock really is, aesthetically speaking, the true definition of a suburb. You have a number of different neighborhoods, many of which are master planned. Round Rock itself is absolutely massive. As mentioned, your schools are going to be top rated. You've got the headquarters of Dell. You've got a lot of jobs in healthcare as well. You've got Kalahari, which is the largest indoor water park in the nation. It comes with an arcade, it comes with restaurants, it comes with shopping, it has hotel rooms. You've got Dell Diamond, lots of baseball games there and events also held at Dell Diamond, and it has its own downtown. Now, while it pales in comparison to actual Austin, Texas downtown, you will have your local bars, your local shops, your boutiques, lots of walkability and things to do. And by the way, if you're wanting to learn more about Round Rock specifically, we do have several videos about Round Rock talking more about it, everything you can expect before moving. And one of our very first videos was a vlog tour of Round Rock as well. So if you're tired of hearing about it or reading about it, go ahead and check that out so that you can get a good idea of how it looks. Now we're gonna move on to number 9 on the list, which is Bee Cave. So Bee Cave also got an overall score of an A. Its schools got an A+ this time around, an A for families, a population of about 66,000 people, so you're looking at roughly half of Round Rock's population. In addition, it also got a score of an A for its diversity. And what's interesting about Bee Cave is that it is mostly renters, believe it or not, because the average median home price in that area is going to be closer to $850,000. Why $850,000, you might ask? Well, Bee Cave is in the heart of West Austin, Texas. And if you didn't know it already, West Austin is going to be your prime real estate. Many of the eventual suburbs we will address on this list are going to be in that West Austin area. With the landscape, you can expect a lot of hills, you're very close to water, and depending on where in Bee Cave you live, you're going to be between 10 and 20 minutes from the heart of downtown Austin. So to a certain extent, you have sort of the best of both worlds, not a perfect mix, but you do have a nice scenery, you do have a nice aesthetic of the area where you live, the neighborhoods, while being within a relative arm's reach of all the things you want to do downtown. So back to the point, that really does feed the median home price. Regardless of if you have a small house or a large house, the location itself is what really raises the price. Lastly, your politics in the Bee Cave area are again going to be moderate, as much of Austin, Texas outside of the city actually is. A lot of people have the idea that Austin, Texas is this liberal hotspot, right? And the city is, yes. But once you get outside of the city, it is going to be more half and half. Another common myth is that because by default of Austin being in Texas, people think everything's going to be really conservative. And again, that is also untrue. The truth of the matter is you do have your areas that lean more right, that lean more left, but a majority of them are going to be pretty much split down the middle, and Bee Cave is no different. Coincidentally, we also did a West Austin, Texas vlog tour covering not only Bee Cave, but a number of other areas within that vicinity. So again, if you are curious, go ahead and check that out so that if you don't want to only hear or read about it, you can get a good idea of how it looks. Next on this list is actually one of my favorites, so I do acknowledge my bias. It's going to be number 8, Leander, Texas. Now, Leander, Texas as well got an overall score of an A. The schools as well got an A. Family living got an A. You're gonna hear a lot of A's on this list. According to niche.com, its population is right around 53,000 people. However, I would beg to differ. I've read numbers that are higher, that are closer to 70,000 or even 100,000. So I'm not entirely sure how precise the population numbers are on this website, but 53 is still a good enough example of what you can expect. In addition to that, niche.com gave it a diversity grade of an A. And while I'm not trying to pick a fight with niche.com, in my opinion, Leander is maybe more deserving of a B or maybe a B-. I'm not saying it's devoid of diversity, that it entirely lacks it, but in my experience, spending time in Leander, Texas, it's not going to be quite as mixed as you think, at least thus far. Something else I'll mention about Leander is that while a majority of the greater Austin area, as I mentioned, is split down the middle politically speaking, Leander is going to lean a bit more to the right. It is going to be a bit more conservative. Nothing extremist, nothing hardcore, or nothing like that, but it's not going to be quite as moderate. And in my opinion, that is because for the longest time, Leander has been quite a small suburb that really didn't have a lot of attention until recently. But I would expect over the next 5 to 10 years, as it rapidly grows with the new North Line Shopping Center they're building, which is very similar to the Domain, and Leander Springs, which is going to be a 4-acre lagoon with restaurants and shopping, you're going to have a lot more people flocking to Leander, a lot more jobs created, a lot more diversity, and it's going to mellow out and balance out the politics. The reason I personally like Leander is, in spite of the fact that as of right now, there really isn't much to do, aside from some parks. And if you want to do something, you're going to have to leave Leander. There's still no major employers in Leander. All of that said, what I like about Leander is it's very well balanced in regards to the types of homes you can find, the types of budgets you can find, and the best of the best schools in the greater Austin area. If you want to be in a master plan community and have a $2 million mansion in the hills overlooking a great view, Leander has it. If you're a first-time buyer with a budget that is a little bit more restricted and you're wanting to watch your finances, count your pennies, so on and so forth, Leander also has a number of opportunities for people like that. They have a lot of new builds that are as cheap as the high 2s and the low 3s without options, and it has a number of homes anywhere in between $400,000, $500,000, $600,000, $800,000, whether it's master planned or not, near the schools, near the golf courses, near the parks. So Leander really is, for families, one of my favorite options because it really does a great job of welcoming all different types of people from all different walks of life with different budgets and tastes as well. And again, if you're wanting to see Leander, Texas, we recently did a vlog tour of Leander as well. In addition to that, we have a number of videos that are just strictly Leander, talking about what you need to know before moving, talking about the pros and cons. So if you want to hear me elaborate more on it, go ahead and check those out. Now, before moving on to the remaining suburbs on this list, again, like I mentioned, go ahead and drop a comment down below. If you live in any of these areas and you want to tell people how you really feel, here's your chance, and it'll honestly help them with their decision to move. In addition, if you have any questions or agreements or disagreements or ideas for future videos, drop them all down below. We'd love to get involved with you guys. In addition to that, consider liking this video as well, as it really helps our channel grow and tells us that we're doing a good enough job providing some value for you guys. Lastly, if there's anyone in your life, a parent, a friend, a spouse, a child, anyone you know who is considering moving to Austin, Texas and would like to learn more, go ahead and share our content with them and spread the good word. All right, so next on this list, coming in at number 7, is going to be Lakeway, Texas. Niche.com gave it a A+ overall. It gave it an A+ for the schools, an A+ for the family, and the population for this is going to be around 15,000 people. So it is going to be one of these smaller areas, one of the smaller neighborhoods on this list. Its politics, again, are going to be more moderate, but in this case, Niche.com gave it a letter grade of a B for diversity, which is a bit telling because in my opinion, it's not always perfectly accurate, so if they're giving it a B for diversity, that really tells you it's not going to offer quite as much as you might desire. Now for Lakeway, there's not much I can say that I haven't already said, and that is because it really is just minutes northwest of the Bee Cave area, and we covered Lakeway as well in our vlog tour, so check that out. But to reiterate, what is great about this area is that it is in the beautiful part of Austin, Texas. Your median home price in the Lakeway area is going to be, again, around $850,000, and what that buys you is relative proximity to downtown, gorgeous scenery, a lot of safety, and you're close to Lake Travis and Lake Austin as well. So moral of the story, if you can't afford to stretch the budget, I would encourage you to check out that entire West Austin region. Next on this list, coming in at number 6, is going to be Cedar Park, Texas. And I will acknowledge, I actually grew up in Cedar Park once upon a time. So while I do know the greater Austin area quite well, especially in my profession, there's nothing like knowing the place where you grew up. You know it so personally, like the back of your hand. But that won't stop me from being brutally honest, as I often am on this channel. Even though Cedar Park got an A+ overall, even though Cedar Park got an A+ for schools, A+ for families, it got an A for diversity, the truth of the matter is that Cedar Park is just a little bit boring. And that's okay, because most of the people who move to Cedar Park don't move there for the fun. They move there for suburban life. The things you can expect to do in Cedar Park are basically going to your local park, staying active, going to a local coffee shop, doing some grocery shopping, and having great schools for your kids. In addition, you can expect lots of trees, gorgeous neighborhoods. Most of the homes are going to be built between the late 90s and the late 2010s. It really did pop in the 2000s and the early 2010s. That was really when Cedar Park hit its peak and then sort of mellowed out. And in our experience helping people relocate, the number one reason they look at Cedar Park are the schools. What's interesting about Cedar Park is that you are zoned for the Leander Independent School District. What I will say though is it's interesting how Niche.com gave Leander a letter grade of an A for the schools, but it gave Cedar Park an A+ for the exact same school district. In my opinion, the reason that is because part of their ratings take into account the median incomes, the safety, how expensive the area is, how nice the area is, and to be quite honest with you, in my opinion, Cedar Park is a bit nicer than Leander, at least most of it, because much of Leander is quite stunning, as I mentioned. Another big reason many people have their eyes on Cedar Park, in spite of there not being much to do, is the fact that Cedar Park is only about 10 or 15 minutes from the tech corridor of Austin. So a lot of the influx of people we see moving to Austin all the time are doing so for those tech jobs. But what is available around the domain? What is available around those tech jobs, specifically in North Austin? Older homes that are very overpriced. So these people would rather look at a Cedar Park, which is again 10 or 15 minutes away, where you can have more bang for your buck, a nice safe place to live, and just commute. Your median home price in Cedar Park is going to be right around $475,000. Your politics again are going to be rather moderate, and the demographic, at least in my experience, is going to be people that are in their mid to late 30s and then early to mid 40s, starting families, or they already have kids who go into elementary schools as well, and then they stay there for another 5, 10, 15 years until the kids are off to college. And lastly, again, we did shoot a vlog tour of Cedar Park, so be sure to check that out as well. All right, moving on to number 5 on this list is going to be Shady Hollow. Shady Hollow got an overall score of an A+, the schools got an A, the family life got an A+, its population is right around 4.4 thousand people, and it got a B for diversity. And lastly, the politics in this area, again, are going to be moderate, and most of the people there will own instead of rent. Now, what I personally like about Shady Hollow is that it is honestly just minutes from downtown. If you look at the map, it is going to be just a little bit southeast of the downtown metro area, close to where everything happens. Interestingly though, Shady Hollow itself in the neighborhood is going to feel more rural. It's not going to feel quite as urban as you would expect given its proximity to the city. So you do get a taste of suburbia, but you're quite close to where everything's happening. So that is quite a desirable location. Lastly, what I really like about Shady Hollow as well is that it's not necessarily going to be as affordable and easy to get into as perhaps Round Rock or Leander, or even Cedar Park for that matter, but it's not going to be quite as expensive as West Austin, for example, which in my opinion is a steal when you're so close to the city. Your average median home price in Shady Hollow is going to be right around $630,000, which for what you're getting, in my opinion, is well worth it. So moving right along, coming in at 4 on this list is going to be The Hills. And what's interesting about The Hills is that it gets an A+ overall. The schools get an A+, the family life get an A+, as the rest of this list is going to have, but its diversity actually has the lowest grade of any of the suburbs on this list with a B-. And in my opinion, the reason for this is, first of all, The Hills is going to be one of the smaller locations on this list with only a population of just over 2,000 people. Another reason being that the politics in this area are going to lean a bit more conservative, but the biggest reason of all is that this is actually a hotspot for a lot of retirees. And with it being a hotspot for retirees, not exclusively, but generally speaking, you're going to have a median home price that ranges anywhere between $800,000 on the lower end all the way up to about $2 million. And why is that? Again, the location. The area of The Hills is going to be in West Austin, once again, very near Lakeway, close to Lake Austin, close to Lake Travis, close enough, once again, to downtown. And given the name The Hills, you can expect to find lovely scenery, nice safe living, some views depending on what you buy. But again, do not think that this is exclusively for retirees. If you can afford to stretch the budget, but you can expect, as mentioned, in The Hills are going to be great schools and very safe living for families. So we're arriving now at the top 3 suburbs on this list, and coming in at number 3 is going to be Brushy Creek. And spoiler alert, Brushy Creek is essentially Cedar Park, just about 5 to 10 minutes east in the direction of Round Rock. So naturally, what you can expect for Brushy Creek is essentially going to be everything you can expect for Cedar Park. The main distinction, in my opinion, however, is that much of Brushy Creek towards this direction of Round Rock, but not quite in the heart of Round Rock, is going to be a lot of new build communities. As I mentioned much earlier in this video, what's interesting about the greater Austin area is that it really is deceivingly large. The city of Austin, Texas is going to pale in size when compared to Houston or Dallas, for example, but because it's in Texas, which is such a massive state in this country, its surrounding areas outside of the city really are going to be humongous. And because this is Texas, not the Northeast, not the Pacific Coast, because it's Texas, which was once just farm and ranch land, there's just so much land to be developed. So they just keep growing north, they keep growing east, they keep growing west. All this land, they're like, all right, we're just gonna build brand new communities. And that is really what you can expect from Brushy Creek. Another great thing about Brushy Creek is that because it is more towards Round Rock, but not quite in it, you have your choice of either being zoned for the Leander Independent School District or the Round Rock Independent School District, both of which are the cream of the crop school districts in the greater Austin area. Your median home price for Brushy Creek is going to be right around $550,000, a good $75,000 more on average than Cedar Park, and again, the reason being a lot of those new build communities. Another pro in favor of Brushy Creek, if we're splitting hairs between that and Cedar Park, is that because you are closer to Round Rock, you are closer to more things to do. When comparing the two suburbs of Cedar Park and Round Rock, Texas, Round Rock is gonna blow Cedar Park out of the water with all the different things that you can enjoy, that your family can enjoy, so on and so forth. All right, coming in at number 2, it actually baffles me that it's not number 1 because for the longest time, so many years, this has been the place to live if you can afford it in Austin, Texas, and it's going to be Westlake Hills. I'm pretty sure for a lot of you, even if you're not from Austin, even if you're not from Texas, chances are you might have heard of Westlake Hills. Westlake essentially is the cream of the crop real estate that Austin has to offer. Yes, I've mentioned Bee Cave, yes, I've mentioned The Hills, yes, I've mentioned Lakeway, all of these places in West Austin, Texas, but really, at the top of that mountain in terms of what you desire most if you can afford it is going to be Westlake. The reason being is that Westlake Hills is not necessarily going to be quite as far west as those other places that I just mentioned. It's going to be a beautiful in-between of being in West Austin, but even closer to downtown Austin. So because of its location, you really have everything you want to do. If you want to drive 5 or 10 minutes into the city and hit 6th Street, go for it. If you want to go to a local music venue and see your favorite local jazz band play, go for it. If you want to go to the Moody Theater and watch Chicago play, as I have, go for it. If you want to go paddleboarding on Lake Austin, if you want to go take your boat out on Lake Travis, if you want to go hiking in the hills, Westlake Hills is close to everything. It has a number of golf courses. In Westlake, you also have terrific schools. The school district is going to be the Eanes Independent School District, and basically it is on par with Leander and Round Rock for its SAT and ACT test scores as well. The only difference being those other districts serve about 30 to 40,000 students, and Eanes has maybe 1,000 or 2,000. Off the top of my head, I'm not sure exactly the number, but I remember it being just a tiny sliver of a fraction because it is such a smaller, more exclusive school district. Now, in addition to all of that, in addition to the A+ schools, in addition to the A+ safety, in addition to the overall grade of an A+, one of the only takeaways you have for Westlake is again going to be its diversity. It has another tied for worst score of B- on this list. Aside from that, however, its politics are going to be moderate. You've got a population of just about 3,500 people, and you've got a healthy mix of different types of people. You will have your retirees, you will have your young parents, you will have everything in between. Perhaps my favorite thing about Westlake, aside from the mansions, aside from the golf, aside from the views, aside from the downtown life, aside from the lake life and all of that, one of my favorite things that is not talked about enough for Westlake is the accessibility to all parts of Austin, Texas. In Westlake, you're close to 183, a major freeway. In Westlake, you're close to Mopac, another major freeway. So if you want to get to the airport, if you want to get downtown, if you want to get to Cedar Park, if you want to get to the Tech Corridor, if you want to go out to San Antonio, if you want to go north towards Dallas, once you leave your house to get to any of these places, the freeways are just a hop and a skip away. And in my opinion, it's hard to put a price on that. But there is a price on that, technically speaking. Your median home price for Westlake Hills is going to be right around $2 million. And that is your median, so that can easily go into 3, 4, 5, 6 towards $10 million. And if you're lucky, you might find something in the high $800,000 or $900,000, or maybe around the $1 million mark. So for many of you watching this, you're thinking, whoa, maybe one day, but not today, and that's perfectly okay. You're going to naturally have exclusive real estate and very safe areas ranked high on lists like this one. But if you're watching this and you're coming from San Francisco, you're coming from Manhattan, one of these coastal cities where you have a lot of money to spend and buy big coming to Texas, Westlake pretty much will have everything you want. Now coming in at number 1 on this list, you would think for all the reasons I just mentioned is Westlake, and Westlake was #1 for quite some time, so it is a bit of a head scratcher. #1 on this list is going to be Rollingwood. The reason I say it's a bit of a head scratcher is not because it's not deserving to be on this list, but a lot of the other suburbs I've already mentioned that were ranked lower than this one might be more desirable, and here's why. For starters, I actually made a mistake. The Hills and Westlake Hills are not tied for the lowest diversity grade on this list. It's actually #1 Rollingwood with a diversity grade of a C. In addition to that, Rollingwood is going to be the smallest area in population on this list with a number of just about 1,500 people. So with the low grade for diversity and the tiny number of people who live there, really the only reasons I could think that they rank this #1, because I don't know their criteria for this necessarily, is that it is within the Westlake Hills location, but it's even closer in proximity to downtown, basically walking distance from Cedar Park. In addition to that, Rollingwood was recently ranked the #1 safest place to live in the totality of Austin, Texas. So with this being niche.com, I have to assume that went into them picking it for #1 over any of the previous suburbs on this list. So I suppose according to their logic, for a modest median home price of $2.2 million, you can go to Cedar Park, you can go to Lake Travis, you can go to all the different venues, you can live in a house that has gorgeous scenery, so on and so forth. So again, I'm not trying to take away from Rollingwood, I'm not necessarily trying to say it doesn't deserve to be #1, but it is why I was scratching my head after all of these amazing places with stature, with reputation. Not that Rollingwood is devoid of any of that, it's just, in my opinion, an interesting choice for #1. And if you do live there, drop a comment down below and perhaps correct me or inform me further of why you think it's #1 as well. So hopefully throughout this video, we've been able to shed some light. We've been able to inform you, we've been able to educate you, and help you arrive at your own conclusion. And for the record, if you have been eyeing a particular location that did not make this list, for example, Hutto, for example, Georgetown, for example, Liberty Hill, worry not, you know, much of this list is that prime, exclusive, expensive real estate. Even if your desired location is ranked between 10 and 20 or 20 and 30, Austin, Texas, at the end of the day, is still a terrific place to live. People move here all the time. It's all about finding the perfect place that fits your needs. So whether you are buying big, stretching that budget, or whether you are a first-time buyer looking to just get into something more affordable, or anything in between, you want to be in the tech corridor, you want to be in Leander, you want to be in Westlake, Bee Cave, Round Rock, so on and so forth. What we pride ourselves on doing, and what we're good at doing, is finding that perfect place for you and making your move as smooth as possible. But the only way we can do that is by you reaching out to us. So again, whether you're 9 days away or 90, do not hesitate. Shoot us a text, send us an email, give us a call any day of the week, any time of day. And once again, we put out tons of new content each and every week with videos just like this one. So if you haven't already, consider subscribing to this channel and ringing that little bell so that you're notified each and every time we put out a new video. Comment down below once again, like this video as well, as it helps our channel grow. Share it with anyone you know who might be wanting to learn more about Austin, Texas. And until the next one, you guys, my name is Frank. This is Living in Austin, Texas, and we will absolutely catch you later.